Hey everyone, this is Cypher here. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at all of the changes that we got in the 8.5.0 update in Dead by Daylight. It is mainly centered around the Freddy rework. Now, if you guys haven't heard about this, it is huge. They have pretty much switched his entire power, his add-ons, everything. There is a few other things too that they mentioned throughout the patch notes, but it is more or less focused on his power because, as you all know, it's a very flawed ability with a lot of issues, and a lot of people have not liked it for a long time. It's been years that people have complained about his power and how weak he is. So yeah, there's a lot to go through today, so buckle up, grab a snack if you're hungry. We're going to be here for a while. So starting out, wow, I'm actually just realizing this is the first update I've made where I've not had something to say before getting into the changes. I'm just getting straight to it today, apparently. But anyways, starting out with the base changes, Dream Snares and Dream Pallets are both part of the base kit. Thank God. I don't know why before the Dream Pallets were like this exclusive add-on based ability. Like, that was honestly stupid. I don't know whose idea that was. I used to use those all the time. You know why? Because the Dream Pallets, in my opinion, were just better. Like, I know a lot of people love the Dream Snares, and obviously they slow down the survivors and temporarily cause them to do this little goofy scream, right? But I honestly preferred the Dream Pallets because a lot of the time people would fall for them, even though it's very obvious that the pallet has appeared in this place where it was already used. But I used to get a lot more value out of that, just tricking survivors with those pallets, and it actually made a lot of people DC too. So yeah, honestly, I liked that a lot. But the fact that that's now combined into one is really cool in my opinion. And so now you have to tap the ability button to switch between the two. So that's nice and simple. Dream Snares are now a ground projectile, which I will get into a bit more as we read through these changes. But it's no longer this little bloody pool on the floor. Like, it's a thing that like slides, which is kind of interesting. Dream Pallets can be ruptured from a distance, which again I will get into in more detail, and the dream projection can now be used on completed generators and more. But anyway, getting into the specifics of the power for the dream world, they've had minor visual improvements to the dream world. It doesn't mention what those are, but take that as you will. They've improved the clarity when the nearest survivor is asleep. Survivors in the dream world are oblivious but hear his lullaby. I believe that's the same as before though. Survivors performing a healing action on a sleeping survivor or while being asleep are revealed with killer instinct. This is a new feature, which honestly, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, personally, as a killer, I think that's very good. There wasn't a huge negative effect on you if you were in the dream world. It was just that you couldn't hear his terror radius and a few other things, right? Whilst now it's actually going to drive people more to want to get out of the dream world state so that they aren't, you know, met with all these different disadvantages. But that's one of them. And then survivors wake up when they're put in the dying state. I believe this is new too, because before it was just if you missed a skill check, if somebody woke you up, or if you were hooked. Now it also includes being put in the dying state. I'm surprised that being injured doesn't too, to be honest. Like, the fact that the killer's hitting you with his claws, you know, you'd think that that would be enough to wake somebody up, but I don't know, I guess not. Anyway, moving on to the dream snare. So this is going to be the specification on how that works. So you press the power button to charge a dream snare over 0.35 seconds. So that's the time it takes to charge it up. And then whilst charged, you tap the attack button to launch the dream snare forward. Dream snares move at 12 meters per second, and dream snares have a maximum range of 18 meters that they can travel. Dream snares go through walls and follow slopes, but they do not go off ledges such as the second floor drop downs, or I guess higher, right? And then dream snares add 30 seconds to an awake survivor's sleep meter, which is kind of interesting. Dream snares inflict a 12% hindered penalty for 4.5 seconds on sleeping survivors, and dream snares have a 7-second cooldown. So I actually really like these because before, dream snares were cool, I guess. You could place them in loops and maybe the survivor would be stupid enough to walk into them. And I guess if you put them on like corners, say of like the killer shack and elsewhere, there were times where you could catch people out with them, but I didn't like them before. Now, because they travel in a path, there's a lot more use for them. I've actually played a little bit of Freddy already, as you will be able to see from the background gameplay. Yeah, I think that's a really cool change that they've done there. Let me know what you guys think if you feel differently. We're going to move on now to the dream pallets, which are obviously now included in the base kit. So you press the power button to enter pallet focus mode, and in this you tap the attack button to spawn a dream pallet at valid pallet locations up to 24 meters away. The nightmare can create up to 8 dream pallets at a time, and while in pallet focus mode, target a dream pallet within 24 meters and tap the attack button to rupture it. That's kind of interesting. After a 1.5 second delay, the dream pallet ruptures in a burst of blood. Rupture adds 60 seconds to an awake survivor's sleep meter, which is pretty crazy, and the rupture injures as Sleeping Survivors 2. The Rupture has a range of 3.5 meters. The Rupture has a 1.5 second cooldown. Rupture cannot be cancelled by any means, and Dream Pellets can be dropped by survivors and can stun the Nightmare but will explode in blood, and they've improved visibility on the Dream Pellets so you can see them a bit easier. I believe they kind of have this whitey red hue to them now. So basically what they've done now is that you can rupture it if you don't want them to run through the pallet and try and throw it on you, which will obviously hit you with a disadvantage because it will stun you the same way a normal pallet would. You can rupture them now from a distance, so if that survivor is near to it, they will be hit with all the negatives that I've already mentioned, like having a longer sleep timer, which is really wild. Like 60 seconds is a lot of time, and obviously injures them too, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, I really like how that one works too. I think what they've done there for the Dream Pellets is a vast improvement from before, because the only thing about them before was that they had this kind of trick element to them where if someone threw it, it was like, oh shit, it's not a real pellet. That was all they did. Now they actually do a lot more to the survivors, so they'll have to be a lot more wary of the pallets, which adds a lot more stress in loops, I would say. So honestly, they have made him a lot stronger there just from those changes alone, but we aren't finished, obviously. We then have the Dream Projection. So now Dream Projection can be used on unrepaired, partially repaired, completed, and block generators at any moment during the trial. So before you could only do it for just, I think, a generator that's being worked on or hasn't been worked on. Now there's a lot more use that you can get out of that ability, which is really cool. I've honestly never really thought about this being a feature, but now that it's been mentioned, this is something I could have actually imagined wanting, to be fair, because the more I think about it, I didn't really play Freddy a whole lot, but when I did, I guess there might have been one or two moments where I thought to myself, why can't it just apply to any generator, right? Since that's the only place you can actually teleport using that feature. So at least now that exists. Dream Projection can be used on sleeping survivors though too. When they're healing in the dream world, any of the healers or the ones being healed, you can teleport to them, although there's obviously a specification to this. The Nightmare appears within 12 meters of the location, so not like right in the middle of them. That would be a little bit strange. I don't know how that would even make sense, but you press and hold the ability button for more than 0.5 seconds to perform the Dream Projection, and while charging Dream Projection, the Nightmare's movement speed is decreased to 3.86 meters per second. That is very oddly specific. While charging the Dream Projection, the Nightmare can see the aura of the husk to which he will teleport. Dream Projection takes 2.5 seconds, which used to be 4 seconds. Dream Projection can be cancelled by releasing the ability button early. Cancelling early incurs the full cooldown. This is the part I'm not too fond on. Now, obviously, it's incentivizing you more to just carry on and follow through with the projection and not to cancel it. That's obviously the idea. It wants you to think more about how you use it and use it wisely. But I really don't like the cooldown time. It's quite long. I think it's like 20-30 seconds if I'm not mistaken. I really don't like how long it takes. Now, granted, I'm sure there's add-ons that can obviously reduce that, but yeah, that's how it works now. Upon completion, survivors within 8 meters are revealed with Killer Instinct for 3 seconds and gain 15 seconds on their sleep meter. Dream Projection has a 30-second cooldown, obviously, which was 45 seconds. Honestly, as a whole, I think that is an amazing improvement to this ability, and the fact that it no longer has this like cap to like where and how you can use it, and the fact now that you can teleport to survivors, like that is really just, again, crazy. I know like wild and crazy are like the two words I seem to only ever use when I'm describing stuff like this, so apologies if I just sound like a broken record. But moving on to alarm clocks / wake up. So sleeping survivors can use any alarm clock to wake up. It was a specific alarm clock before, and it was usually on the other side of the map. That I did not like. I don't like that you sometimes had to run into really dodgy situations where the killer was to try and use the alarm clocks. Thank God now that it's a universal thing and you can use any of them on the map. That's how it should have always been, I feel like, but at least now it is. Using an alarm clock grants sleep immunity for 30 seconds, which isn't a very long time, but there you are. And then using an alarm clock causes it to go on a global 45-second cooldown, which prevents anyone else from using it. But again, there's like so many littered around the map, so it won't be a big deal anyway. The wake up interaction, snap, snap, clap, clap in brackets, always takes 5 seconds, and it would increase with each wake up interaction previously. The wake up interaction has priority over the healing interaction. I get why that takes priority, but I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just a little bit of an annoyance, I suppose. You have to keep trying to remove that first, but considering it only takes 5 seconds, it's not a big deal, right? So anyways, I think as a whole, that is great. I am so happy that they've done that, and that's why I never played Freddy before, because he was so weak and so boring, and the gameplay would just get really stale very quickly. And then now, because there's so much nuance and the abilities are just so much better, I feel like this is gonna, you know, make people want to play him a lot more often. So that's obviously a W for behavior here. Moving on to the add-ons. For the garden rake, it now increases the size of the dream snare by 10%. This is new. For the wool shirt, it decreases the dream palette rupture delay by 10%, which is new. For the kids drawing, it increases the amount of sleep gained from dream abilities by 10%. This is also new. I think for all of these, actually, I don't know if I even need to specify. I think all of these are new. Yeah, except maybe the last one. Yeah, I think all of these seem to be new add-on abilities, so I'm not even going to just specify that every time, otherwise it's going to get really annoying. But for the sheep block, it increases the alarm clock cooldown by 10%. For the prototype claws, it decreases dream snare charge time by 10%. For the cat block, it decreases dream projections cooldown by 10%. For the outdoor rope, it increases the speed at which dream snares travel by 15%. For the green dress, it increases the time it takes for survivors to perform the wake up action by 2 seconds. For Nancy's sketch, it decreases the sleep immunity by 20% after a survivor uses an alarm clock. For the unicorn block, it increases the dream palette rupture range by 0.5 meters. For the blue dress, it has three new abilities. Dream snares no longer move, so you can have the previous fixed state or like fixed position that it once used to have, which is kind of cool, I guess, for people who preferred it how it was before. That is available with this add-on. Dream snares have a lifetime of 8 seconds with this add-on, and only one dream snare can be placed at a time. For Nancy's masterpiece, it decreases dream projections cooldown by 10% after hitting a survivor with a dream ability. For the jump rope, it increases the hindered penalty duration when a survivor is caught by a dream snare by 0.5 seconds. They put second on here. Apparently they don't know how to spell properly, but yeah, seconds. For the paint thinner, there are 3 new functions with this one. So when a survivor drops a dream palette, it reveals them with killer instinct for 6 seconds. It unlocks the ability to use dream projection on that survivor while they are revealed, which is kind of cool. And this dream projection charges 100% faster. So yeah, that's very nice. Then for the Z block or Z block from all my British viewers, survivors hit by a dream snare or dream palette rupture are revealed for 3 seconds. For the swing chains, after using dream projection, block all window vaults within 16 meters for 6 seconds. For the class photo, this has 2. So the survivors in the dream world are revealed with killer instinct while opening exit gates, and it grants the ability to use the dream projection on exit gates. I really like this add-on. I've been using this a lot recently. Now, you can call that what you will if you think it's OP or you think it's unfair. I could probably understand that statement, but I really like that now because it allows you with this add-on to expand the usage of this dream projection ability, which if you're already running like an exit gate build like Blood Warden and Fire Up and No Way Out, perks like that, which I used to use a lot on Freddy because of how weak he was, like now, plus the fact that you can teleport with this add-on to the exit gates, that's very, very strong. So yeah, this might annoy a lot of survivors. For the pill bottle, each time a survivor wakes up, they fall asleep 10% faster, up to a maximum of 50%. Then for the red paintbrush, this has 2 changes as well. So it reveals the aura of survivors in the dream world when they are further from 32 meters away. This is a bit like using the scratched mirror, I believe, or the vanity mirror. I don't remember which one it is, but for Myers, obviously, which is, you know, again, hate to keep saying the same type of terms, but it is quite crazy. And then it increases each survivor's sleep meter by 50%. Then moving on, finally, for the black box, exit gates are blocked for sleeping survivors for 15 seconds after they are opened, which was applicable when recently opened, and this update also makes it trigger when they fall asleep after the exit gates have been opened. But yeah, that was a lot to go through, and it's a good thing I didn't go and look at every single previous state of the add-ons, because I could do that because they were completely different, obviously, but I don't feel like we have the time to go through each and every one. We'd be here all day. There is a lot of add-on changes they've done here, and like I say, since the entire power has been reworked, there isn't much point in mentioning the previous state of the add-ons because they only applied to the previous version of the power, which had all of its different nuances and stuff. But yeah, that's all for his add-ons. I believe that's actually it for Freddy here. Moving on now to new features or feature changes, right? So the deep wound visibility has had improvements. So they've added a deep wound progress bar under the mending progress bar for better visibility. They've removed the darkening vignette, I think that's how you pronounce it, of the deep wound effect, which I think is great because it was very debilitating when it started to really darken your screen, because then it would just stop you from seeing properly. So that's nice, to be honest. And then they've added a setting to disable the new deep wound progress bar if you don't want it to be on your UI, you can remove that. And then characters, default, and prestige cosmetics now have outfits in the outfit tab. So if you want to quickly just set the default or the prestige outfit, if you've fully completed the prestige outfit, you can now flick between those on the outfit area of your customization area, which is great because sometimes I would accidentally have my character reset to default and I'd want to quickly put on all the bloody cosmetics again, like when I'm in a lobby, right? And then the game would start and I wouldn't get enough time because you have to go through each individual one and quickly select it. But now you have the convenience there of being able to quickly flick between the two, so that's cool. Apparently there's now normalized action progress bar behavior, so hooking a player no longer uses a progress bar, Death Slinger's reload no longer uses a progress bar, Cenobite's teleport no longer uses a progress bar, and Clairvoyance no longer uses a progress bar. So I think now you just click them and it will take the effect instead of having, you know, this timer thing, I guess, on your screen. So honestly, I don't know why that was removed. It wasn't like it was a big deal or it was a bad thing. I mean, to be honest, I was just so used to seeing it, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit confused by this change, but it's not anything crazy, obviously. It just gave you a bit more clarity on how long something is taking to power up, right? But, you know, whatever, they've removed that. There's been a smoke effect added to the change of certain cosmetics that have unique lobby animations. Smoke effect was added to the Play Mori button of Visceral Rarity Cosmetics. I actually noticed this when I was playing as Huntress the other day, and I had on the Were Elk skin. It has this little animation on the Mori feature, so you know that it's got its own unique one. The color of a completed generator was updated to better differentiate them from yellow highlighted generators. That is good because if you're running a perk like Discordance, that's a bit more obvious now. Various perk tags were added to aid in searching. So generic perks now can be searched with generic, general, universal, or global. Shoulder the Burden can now be searched with STB, and Bite the Bullet can now be searched with BTB. So that's kind of cool. I hope they add that for all perks, because I mean, those aren't the only perks with long names. Granted, you don't need to write the full name anyway. You can literally just write the beginning of it and it will come up. Moving on to perk updates, there's not very many here, but for the killer for Beast of Prey, when you gain Bloodlust for the first time, you gain Undetectable for 30, 35, or 40 seconds, depending on perk rarity. This is new. Now, instead of it only lasting whilst Bloodlust is active, now whenever you gain Bloodlust for the first time, you gain this ability. And then the gaining of 30, 40, or 50% more blood points for actions in the Hunter category has been removed. For Fire Up, for each generator completed, you gain a 4, 5, or 6% stackable speed bonus to picking up, dropping, vaulting, damaging generators, and breaking pallets and breakable walls for the remainder of the trial, which was 3, 3.5, or 4% before. So that's had a nice little buff there. Remember Me, each time your obsession loses a health state, you gain 1 token up to 3, 4, or 5. This was 2, 3, or 4 before, so that's also been buffed. And for each token, it increases the opening time of exits by 6 seconds up to a maximum of 18, 24, or 30 seconds, which before was 12, 18, or 24. So this again has been buffed. I don't really use any of those perks except for maybe I've used Fire Up a little bit, but Remember Me is one of those perks I used quite a bit with my exit gate builds, but I don't really use those perks as a whole very much. Then for Survivor, we've only had 2 changes, and those are for Vigil and Wake Up, which are of course Quentin Smith perks. So for Vigil, it affects survivors within 16 meters, which was 8 meters before, and you recover from blindness, broken, exhausted, exposed, hemorrhage, hindered, mangled, and oblivious 30, 35, or 40% faster, which was 20, 25, or 30% before, which has had like a 10% buff to each rarity there. And then for Wake Up, for each survivor that's still alive, you increase the speed at which you open exit gates by 8, 10, or 12.5%, which is apparently new, which before you would get this gate opening increase upon the perk being activated. So now it's got a number of survivors alive specification attached to it, which sounds bad, but actually in a way it's pretty good, because before the maximum gate opening increase you could get with the purple rarity was 25%. Now say if even just 2 survivors are alive still, that gives you 25% with the purple rarity. And if there's all 3 of your teammates still alive, then you can get a total of 37.5% opening increase, which is very good. So it's to my understanding that if you are the last person alive, which is pretty likely in a lot of games, then you won't get any value here at all, which to be honest is probably the time when you would need this a lot more, because if you're the last person and the killer has bumped the hatch closed, then you're actually doomed, because if they're using a killer that can teleport especially, or the exits are just unluckily very close together, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible for you to get the exits open. So I feel like before, this perk was better for those scenarios because it would just be a general opening increase. I feel like if there's more than 2 people alive by the end game, that's pretty uncommon, and it's usually if the killer's played fairly bad. Yeah, let's just say all of your teammates are alive, you're going to get a really huge increase, but if you're the last person, you're going to get no increase at all. So yeah, it's not a great change, but it's not awful either. It really just depends which way you want to look at it and what context you're in, I suppose, when you're using this perk. I don't really care too much for this, and I don't really feel any sort of way about it. And then finally, for the archives and events, we got Tome 22 Anguish level 1 opened on the 28th of January. If you guys want to go and check out the new Rift, it is out now. I do want to quickly mention, I think there might be a 2v8 coming soon, but like Resident Evil themed, we're going to get another 2v8, but it's going to be like based around Wesker and Nemesis with like a joint injection that you can get, which gets rid of both infections. And I think there'll also be herbs implemented into that. But yeah, that is all that we had to read for today's video. Hopefully this was informative. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments on any of the changes discussed in this video. I'd be very curious to know. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button down below to let me know. Really helps the video out in the algorithm. Also, if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on post notifications so you never miss a single video I post. Thank you all so much for watching, and I shall catch you all in my next video. Goodbye.